Budapest, Prague, and Vienna. They're also known as the triumvirate of the Habsburg Empire, the family that ruled much of the Holy Roman Empire, and later on, the much diminished Austro-Hungarian counterpart. The political influence of the Habsburgs no longer exists, but their legacy lives on in the vibrant urban culture they left behind. In this two-part series, we join the award-winning travel company Trafalgar through the streets of Hungary, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, and Austria. We'll guide you through the history, architecture, cuisine, and traditions of four nations that once comprised the glorious Habsburg Empire. So join us. I'm David Celdran in Central Europe, and this is Executive Class. Our journey through Habsburg Europe begins in Budapest, the modern-day capital of Hungary. The city along the Danube River was once the seat of the dual monarchy known in the 19th century as the Empire of Austria-Hungary. Budapest is actually two cities in one. Buda, the ancient one, is found on the west bank of the Danube, and Pest, the newer city, on the east. In 1873, the two were unified and has remained that way since. The capital of Hungary was founded by Celts on the hills close to Buda. Today, it's the ideal place to explore the rich and troubled history of the city. The streets, buildings, and monuments of the Old Town and Castle District give you a glimpse of the various settlers and empires that colonized the city: Celts, Romans, Magyars, Ottomans, Habsburgs, and Soviet Russians. Christianity was replaced by Islam in the 16th century and by communism in the aftermath of the Second World War, but the Christian traditions of the Habsburgs have outlived both. One of the holiest buildings in Hungary stands in the central square of Buda, the Church of St. Matthias. St. Matthias is one of the most beautiful landmarks of Budapest. It's so beautiful, it's hard to believe it was destroyed so many times in the past. Trafalgar's travel director, Malcolm McRae, and local expert, Kathleen Till, help explain the church's colorful history to me. The original church was founded by St. Stephen, the first Christian king of Hungary, whose statue adorns the square. I'm told St. Matthias Church suffered in the hands of invading Tatars, Ottomans, and later the Nazis, but emerged grander each time the church was rebuilt. There's an interesting side story to St. Matthias Church. You see, when the Ottoman Turks invaded Hungary, they converted this church into a mosque and whitewashed the walls. The frescoes you see today were all once covered in paint, and the Christian images were carted away. But in the siege by Christian knights to reclaim the city from the Turks, part of the wall collapsed and revealed the statue of the Virgin Mary. The sight so spooked the defenders, they fled the city and gave up the fight entirely. St. Matthias holds a special place in Hungarian history. Two of the last Habsburg kings, both Catholic, were crowned here. Castle Hill, where the church stands, provides one of the best views of the city, from the towers and terraced paths of Fisherman's Bastion most especially. What you see across the Danube is Buda's twin city, Pest. If Buda is the country's historic soul, Pest, where we are now headed, is the heart of Hungarian politics, trade, and culture. Pest grew in size, wealth, and importance at the end of the 19th century, when the Habsburgs established a second branch of the monarchy in the capital of Hungary. Pest was built to portray a modern imperial city. Patterned after Paris are wide tree-lined boulevards like Andrassy. Apart from tribute to empire, the city's grandest buildings and monuments were built to celebrate the Hungarian centenary. If there's one year to remember, it's 1896. That was the year Hungarians celebrated their millennium, the millennium of their foundation. And those 7 statues over there, they represent the 7 chieftains, Magyar chieftains, who first united this nation. Sprawling Hero Square is a good introduction to the country's proud 1,000-year history. The statues here represent the heroes of Hungary, including the 7 founders of the country and the various Christian kings that bravely fought off invaders from their territory. Few countries in Europe have been occupied by foreign invaders as much as Hungary. The mix of people has produced one of the continent's most eclectic and exciting national cultures and cuisines. The historic Central Food Hall of Budapest is where you can best experience this. Built in, you guessed it, 1896, the covered market sells products closely identified with Hungarian cuisine. Ingredients and recipes introduced by waves of settlers and now proudly made in Hungary. The red, colored spice paprika most notably. Kathy, Trafalgar's local expert, takes us to a market stall that has been selling Hungarian paprika here for 15 years.
It's very interesting because the Turks introduced paprika to the Hungarians, so
when the Turks
only
took over
from that time, yes,
they left behind their spices.
And now we say it's a real typical Hungarian spice, and basically one of the most important spices of our cuisine and cooking.
The best paprika is grown in the Kolozsvár region of Hungary. It's a type of chili that's used to flavor dishes and give Hungarian food its distinctive red-orange color. It's sold as dried peppers, as paste in bottles, or powdered in tins, in sweet or spicy varieties. Authentic Hungarian paprika is a popular gift or souvenir, and it's guaranteed to add a spicy kick to any cuisine. Paprika is also the key ingredient in another Hungarian specialty, charcuterie. Pork, salami, and sausages are central to Hungarian cuisine. Few meals are without the delicacies.
We believe it's tastier, you know, the spicing, of course, because of the paprika. Most of the salami is red, but not all of them. We've got the 2 types. Obviously, the one which has the red color is with the paprika. Without the paprika, it's not that red. But you will see, because I would like
But the one in
him to show
paprika
you.
is a more common
Yes.
type of salami.
Yes.
Okay.
Besides salami, sausage is the other thing, and sausage is most of the time it's with the paprika, so it's red.
Hungarian butchers make and sell sausages in different sizes, shapes, and levels of spiciness. For our introduction to Hungarian charcuterie, we asked the butchers to put together a sampler plate. This is very international, right?
6 salami.
You ready? Start with this one. You know, in the Philippines we have this one. It's called chicharron.
Oh yes, yeah. It's better, of course, with bread. All of these good with
But
bread and a
yours
little bit of
cold?
salt. Yes, it's cold.
okay,
It's
that's the
cold, and
difference.
we put salt on it, and we put fresh bread.
Next, we try classic Hungarian salami, both with and without paprika. New to me is mangalitsa, ham from a rare Hungarian pig with curly hair and pork low in cholesterol. A very unique flavor,
Yeah,
a very clean taste.
very
for
clean
pork.
taste. Okay.
Yeah. Beef, duck, and goose are also Hungarian specialties, and for the older generation, horse ham. Wow, you know what? This is my first time to try horse meat.
I have to tell you, I've never tried in my life.
You've never tried? Are you willing to try
No,
one?
thank you.
Well, let's go for it. Horse meat.
He says
Cheers.
You know, this is a horse nation for horseback riding, so it's not that it's not a good product. And plus,
Will I go to jail for eating this? No.
No.
It's an acquired taste. A bit of salty, huh? Salty
Kicsit
side.
sós, azt mondja az íze? Yeah.
Hungary is also well known among wine enthusiasts for their quality of wine. One variety to look for is Tokai, a sweetish yet sophisticated white wine similar to French Sauterne but far more affordable. Budapest wine scene is one of the wine world's best kept secrets, and a visit to a restaurant like Schizel, a 120-year-old winery specializing in local varieties, is a must. The dinner in Schizel is part of Trafalgar's Be My Guest program, where travelers are invited by locals into their homes. Participants taste more than just a generous serving of native wines and dishes. The owner of the winery and restaurant acts as the host of the party. It's an exclusive experience with a tour of the cellars and a wine tasting session, introducing guests to the fine whites, reds, and rosés of Hungary. Indeed, the perfect prelude to an evening in one of Central Europe's most sophisticated cities.
Egészségedre!
Egészségedre!
Up next, a closer look at the luxurious Habsburg lifestyle in Budapest, Bratislava, and Prague. Our guided holiday across the royal capitals of Habsburg Europe continues when executive class returns. Our Trafalgar holiday in Central Europe continues in Budapest, one of the three royal cities of the Habsburg Empire on our itinerary. The Hungarian capital reached its peak of glory in the turn of the 20th century. Dubbed the Paris of the East back then, much of the original streets and buildings of the period remain, surviving 2 world wars and Soviet occupation. The multi-ethnic population you encounter on the streets of Budapest are the product of more than 1,000 years of migration, invasion, and assimilation.
For sure, Hungarians have a history they can be proud of, and the grand buildings on both sides of the Danube attest to that. But there's also a dark side to this country, and here, this monument tells us all about it.
During World War II, an estimated 50,000 Jews in Budapest were rounded up. Of these, about 20,000 were executed. The shoes on the Danube Memorial recalls those who died on this spot. After being ordered to remove their shoes, they were shot at the edge of the water and thrown into the river. Liberation from the Nazis by Soviet troops didn't end the violence. Activists, intellectuals, and dissidents against the post-war communist regime were incarcerated, tortured, and sometimes murdered here. Once the headquarters of the secret police, the aptly called House of Terror, is now a museum commemorating Hungary's dark years of totalitarian rule, and a warning against its possible return.
After the Second World War, Europe was divided into the democracies on the west and the Soviet bloc, the socialist countries on the east, and in between ran an Iron Curtain. This is a monument of that. Today, many Hungarians fear another Iron Curtain is being erected.
The country is divided once again by another Iron Curtain, literally a fence erected by authorities to keep the waves of refugees from the Middle East away from Hungary. During the Cold War, the centrally planned economies of the socialist bloc suffered heavily, but Hungary was an exception. Here, a level of free enterprise was tolerated, and micro to mid-sized private enterprise was encouraged.
The Austrians and the Hungarians are very well known for their shoemaking tradition. And in Budapest, there's one shoemaker who's especially known for making the best boots in town. Here they are. Let's check them out.
Tóth István's shoe shop was one of the many family-owned businesses that were spared takeover by the state. Over the decades, István, a Hungarian shoemaker, and his son, Zoltán, built a reputation for handcrafting high-quality bespoke footwear in the traditional Austro-Hungarian fashion. They're even listed in the Louis Vuitton travel guide as among the best in Budapest.
very soft. We don't use. If you see the history of Hungary, you can read a lot of things about horse riders or big masters who made riding boots or shoes. And the most traditional thing in the Hungarian shoemaking system, I think, everything is made by hand.
Leather riding boots are a Hungarian specialty. Riding is a national passion here, and equestrian sports are extremely popular. The Habsburgs were also fixated with military parades and dress, and naturally in the boots made for army officers. The imperial line has since died out, but their tradition lives on. Today the Tots count other European royalty among their customers.
So the methods are the same, so we are working absolutely by hand from the start to the end. But the models and the style and the using of the boots is changing in time. 20 or 30 years ago, boots should be good for very hard work or for military progresses, everything. But nowadays, yes, the main thing is the fashion.
You can have your feet measured in their shop and a pair delivered to your home in a matter of weeks. Quality leather is key, but only an experienced shoemaker can make a pair fit perfectly. The leather is stitched by hand entirely, and the soles attached with wooden nails for comfort and flexibility. Polo boots are the best sellers, but classic men's and women's shoes are also offered, all handmade in the Austro-Hungarian tradition. Market-oriented and democratic since 1989, Budapest and Hungary is one of the EU's most promising economies. The new wealth has helped restore Budapest's imperial skyline to its former glory.
Other cities have copied Budapest with illuminations at night, but few can rival this city. In fact, one of the best ways to experience Budapest is with a river cruise on the Danube at night.
Riverboats are a great way to view the city's magnificent skyline, and most offer an authentic Hungarian dinner as part of the cruise. You'll recognize the ingredients from our visit to the central market hall. There's Hungarian salami and sausages, mostly spicy.
You'll notice that a lot of food tonight is red. That's because Hungarian food is flavored with its favorite spice, paprika.
You'll taste a piquant paprika flavor in their famous cabbage rolls, beef stew or goulash, and chicken paprika. But it's for the view that we're really here for, and what a view it is.
All the greatest hits of Budapest are along the Danube, so really, if you don't have time, this is the best way to see the city. That's a royal palace over there. Look how stunning it looks at night.
The cruise follows a circular route, running under a number of elegant bridges along the way, and past grand buildings as well. But none are as impressive as this, the crowning glory of the imperial city.
It's freezing out here, but it really doesn't matter because this view compensates for everything. It's a parliament building of Budapest, and it's beautiful, it's stunning. It's a jewel at night.
The Hungarian Parliament is one of the finest neo-Gothic buildings in the world, even surpassing the British Parliament after which it was copied from. The Danube cruise is guaranteed to leave any traveler to Budapest in awe. A fitting end to our visit to the first of 3 imperial cities on our list. Our next destination is Prague, capital of the Czech Republic. expect a long drive. But with excellent roads, a steady pilot, and a comfortable coach, time seems to fly faster. And before you know it, we're at our pit stop, Bratislava in Slovakia.
Bratislava is the midway point between Budapest and Prague, but it's more than just a convenient stopover. In fact, it's a lovely city and small enough to discover in a little over an hour. So let's go.
Head straight to the old town through the St. Michael's Gate, where most of the Slovak capital's attractions are found. Don't be fooled by the city's size. Bratislava figures prominently in Central European history. It became the Hungarian kingdom's capital in the 15th century after the Turks invaded Hungary. No fewer than 11 kings and 8 queens were crowned here in the main cathedral of St. Martin, including Maria Theresa, the Habsburg Empress of Austria and Queen of Hungary, under whose rule Bratislava reached its height of glory. Vestiges of that golden era are still visible in the town's main square, and though understated compared to Prague, its former sister city in the old Czechoslovakia, Bratislava is breathtaking nevertheless.
This is more than just a stopover, right? I mean, you can actually enjoy this pretty city.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. If you had time in your program and you could add a night into Bratislava, it certainly would be a rewarding experience. It's definitely a small town, so it maybe doesn't have the kind of depth as places like Vienna or Prague or Budapest, for example. Prague is, at the height of the visitor season, very crowded, whereas Bratislava is always very relaxed.
And the laid-back atmosphere is precisely Bratislava's charm. Even at the peak of the tourist season, the city is never crowded. On the main pedestrian thoroughfare, you can still find space for a quiet walk or a seat at a street-side cafe. An overnight stay in Bratislava would be ideal. Half a day if short on time. Too bad for us though. We need to get back on the road en route to Prague.
Buildings in the city center of Prague.
We arrive in Prague at dusk, just in time to see the streets and spires of the medieval capital of the Holy Roman Empire and the Habsburgs lit up at night. I'm back after my first visit as a wandering youth in 1992, and Prague, from afar at least, looks just as I left it. Few cities are as well preserved as the Czech capital. The Charles Bridge, the Prague Castle, towers and churches of the old town, they're all still standing, waiting to be discovered anew. Next week, on the second part of our series on Central Europe, we continue our Trafalgar guided holiday on the streets and in the pubs of ancient Prague, before ending our journey in the cultural capital of the empire, Vienna in Austria. Till then, I'm David Celdran, and thanks for watching.